on the outside looking in, and I wanna be back on the inside. I don't wanna be left on the outside, all alone. All alone.
With beats, discussing the heat in the streets. Take over the west and the east. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. You rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. Take over the west and the east. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. You rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. Take over the west and the east. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. Rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. You rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets.
On the outside looking in, and I wanna be back on the inside. I don't wanna be left on the outside, all alone.
Vitamin J, got what you need. Vitamin J, got what you need.
All alone.
Vitamin J. Discussing that heat in the street, hey, we got just what you need on Vitamin G. You rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. Take over the west and the east. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. You rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. Take over the west and the east. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. You rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. Take over the west and the east. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. Rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. You rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. Got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. You rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. Take over the west and the east. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. Vitamin G.
I'm on the outside looking in, and I wanna be back on the inside. I don't wanna be left on the outside, all alone. All alone. I'm on the outside looking in, and I wanna be back on the inside. I don't wanna be left on the outside, all alone.
Vitamin J, got what you need. Vitamin J, got what
All
you need.
alone.
Vitamin J. Ay. You rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. Take over the west and the east. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. You rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. Take over the west and the east. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. You rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. Take over the west and the east. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. Rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. You rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. You rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. Take over the west and the east. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. Vitamin J. Vitamin J, got what you need.
I'm on the outside looking in, and I wanna be back on the inside. I don't wanna be left on the outside, all alone.
Vitamin J, got what you need. Vitamin J, got what you need.
All alone.
Vitamin J. already know how I'm coming, man. Tryna run the town. Tell no duck when they hear that sound. How they gon' come up now? Heavy as the head that'll wear that crown. I'm going pound for pound. And if it's about smoke, then we talk all of that. From an ounce to a pound. Take it, they biting this now. Cause my drip right up the seat. How could they be? Give me a couple of rounds. Cause I'm a beast when I'm on vitamin G. You see they start crumbling now. Mad struck start mumbling now. Get the gist, I ain't reaching for clout. Plot twist, I'm the one with the keys. Clock blitz, know they look how I freeze. Different continents, I be torn. We living life making yours look boring. See we win at the end, it's a spoiler warning. Cause I keep heating up, I might blow the whole planet. They calling me toxic like global warming. But they keep tuning in once again and again. I'm the one at the top just to form a warning. Truly, I'm De Niro when it come to movies. Get De Niro, entertain the groupies. Habanero if you come pursue me. But I hop on the game, too busy rolled up whenever my girl getting moody. Link up with the gang, we all go insane. Catching them bills on the duty. I'm in Stixie, I'm locked in. Bought a box, I was like 10. Back then, used to box, nowadays they ain't throwing hands. Mama said we got more advanced. One thing about me, I adapt, bought a Glock fin. Keep me safe on the block in. The game kept me off the block. Ain't got flex about looting my Ruger. I can shit on you with my computer. See my graphics card costs more than your damn job can afford to pay you. And my monitor, big as hell, detail, so I can see when I spray you. To reload the clip and record the clip is go all say to that SSD. Know a whole lot of trill game heads like me wanna see tune into that VGP. Take over the west and the east, and we got just what you need on vitamin G.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Vitamin G, episode 217. And I'm doing the timestamp right now, so bear with me. So trying to get better at this. Get a little bit more consistent with it. Just want to shout out Oathkeeper and Tao for being in. Where the show started. Good to have people here. Thank you. So before I kick the show off, it's just a two-man team unless we get some guys that straggle in. So Zero, what you been up to? What you been playing?
On everyone. Really playing a lot. Right before we started the show, I was talking about I played some Foam Stars.
Yeah.
The new sort of Splatoon-esque game
Oh.
from Square Enix. It's I don't particularly care for it, and you know I like a lot of those sort of they're not battle royales, but those sort of multiplayer type games. It just is doing it for me. I'm not really comparing it to Splatoon because I don't play a lot of Splatoon, so I don't have that level of like involvement with it.
Mhm.
But the game just didn't really feel very interesting. The characters didn't seem that the paint or it's foam, not paint. The sort of foam of it all isn't that interesting. The moves aren't that interesting. It seems it's just not a very interesting game, honestly. Even the music, what I thought would be the best part of it, isn't that great compared to something like, say, a Sea of Stars.
It's not an RPG
So
though,
unfortunately,
so I mean usually it
I
has like a
know, but
little
like
entertainment music loop that kind of like you forget that you're like it's like kind of background noise typically in those type of games.
if you treat it like Marvel's Capcom 2 has some great in-game music
Yeah.
that's like a real big earworm. So, like it can be done. And a game that seems to revolve a lot around this sort of superstar show aspect of it.
Yeah.
Um, it feels like it would have been a little bit better if it had something that was just catchy. It doesn't have anything that's catchy.
Yeah, I hear you.
Um,
And
yeah,
I heard a lot of
that
people. Well, I
that's
saw
tough
a
in
lot
that
of
way.
people hyping it up this weekend. So I mean, maybe it found an audience in the beta. So we'll have to see when it actually drops. What type of
Yeah,
audience the game
I
finds.
completely I know what it's like to like have a game that, isn't really popping, but like you really enjoy it. Fairly recently it was it Rumble All Stars or Rumbleverse,
Yeah,
which was sort of like a 3v3 battle royale with like physical wrestling and fighting moves. So it
yeah,
was excellent. Of course, it got canceled because nobody was playing the game. It just wasn't doing anything.
yeah,
So RIP to that very fun game. So hopefully Foam Stars finds an audience and like it can last.
yeah.
Because truthfully, I probably would have said the same thing about Splatoon when it first came out.
Okay, yeah.
Um,
So
uh, yeah. Other than that, I played. Speaking of battle royales, the My Hero 3v3 battle royale game
oh
came
yeah, I
out.
seen that
Played a
on
little
my
bit of that.
seen that advertisement on my kid's Xbox when I was up there, like a
Yeah,
movie on
it's
form.
okay. I think I got to spend more time with it to get a little better. I was kind of sorry at it, like initially playing, like I don't know what I'm doing here. Um, but it's cool. There might, I mean, I guess it's really Fortnite, but there might be a world for like sort of shonen 3v3 battle royale type of thing. Instead of just My Hero, it can be Naruto, Demon Slayer, and everybody sort of jumps in and wins based off of that. Might
I
be
think that
interesting
kind
to
of
see, but
I think that kind of happens like if it takes off more, then you get to license more characters. But
yeah, I'd love to figure out. That's exactly who manages the license from a video game perspective for a lot of the shonen anime.
uh-huh.
Because what was the game Jump Force All Stars? Like, who's responsible for that?
Yeah.
And like,
Like
not the people who make the game, but like, who's responsible for saying yes, you can use these characters and use Yugi Moto or Goku, whoever.
I would guess that most of the time they try to go to like the same like anime house. So whoever owns the
Yeah,
license for, several characters, they probably hit them all up for their group of characters. They probably don't try to hit up, on a different one.
yeah. Like, I don't expect them to hit up like the Attack on Titan crew. Um, but we know some of those are already unlocked. And like, if you're massively popular, My Hero, Demon Slayer, Naruto, uh, One Piece, and Dragon Ball, those are pretty much easy go tos.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
so it's a fun game. I still recommend it. Let's see where it goes. I'll keep an eye on it. I'm at the end of Sea of Stars, so
Okay.
I'm about to be done with that game. So it's an excellent little game, man. I really highly recommend it. Doesn't take very long, honestly. It can't be more than 30 hours if you're just like playing. I'm sure there's some secrets I might have to go back and get, but if you're just playing, you could probably finish this in about
Well,
30 hours or less.
RPGs typically don't take that long unless you go on that side quest hunt.
Yeah,
You start side questing and next thing you know it's a little longer, a little bit more
yeah,
of a challenge. Um
yeah. Mm,
as far as your
mm,
time is concerned. Um
yeah. I kind of lament that some of the modern RPGs don't have that. If I think about 7 remake and then 16, I like 16. I'm not on it like everybody else is. Um, but it does feel like it's taking me on a bit of a straight line path outside of a few extra things. But nothing like, and granted, some of it was a bit of a grind, but nothing like what 7 remake was doing with the what's his name, the little robot boy.
Chadley?
Yeah, Chadley, or
Chadley wasn't
the
really
whole
Chadley
um
wasn't really a side quest though. Like the way that they structured it, it was like analyze these characters and I'll reward you throughout the story. It wasn't like
well,
it wasn't really a
like in
fetch quest.
16 they have the board, right? Like, and so the board is like, here's where you can train like your new skills that you have. I initially thought it was going to be just like Chadley, like here's this list of boss or random boss enemies that you can fight and to like go throughout the game. I was like, it wasn't. It literally is just a training ground. I was like, but that's a little disappointing. And I know they have the Monster Hunt, and I think we'll see it a lot more in something like Rebirth with like the Golden Saucer. But a lot of those games back, at least back in the day, and some of them still might have it. There was just so much extra silly stuff to do
Yeah.
where 16 didn't really feel like it had it. And a lot of RPGs that I'm playing don't feel, or JRPGs don't feel like they have them anymore, which could be good. Like, 80-hour experiences can be exhausting.
Yeah, I feel like
So
when it came to 16, like they had some really great side quests, but there was way too many like fetch quests in between that like didn't
Yeah.
add any value to the story or give you any extra depth to the world per se. But there was like probably legitimate like 20, maybe 30 side quests also that was like, yeah, these are enriching to the story.
Yeah.
I will say, I'll give you that. But 16 does better than a lot of other games aside, because some games side quests are just a thing that is here.
um
16 really side quests really did help flesh out the world completely.
and then like 7 Remake, their side quests, if you didn't do them, they impacted the main story.
Yeah.
Not drastically, like the main story's gonna stay on track, but there were certain beats that would be different. Had you done things differently. But yeah, so glad you're
So
enjoying Splatoon and the music was able to send us on this tangent. Me myself, I've just been playing still Tales of Arise. Just been playing that, kind of slow playing it. I like doing a little camping and having the conversations with the characters and doing different meals and fighting the different monsters and trying to get the combo bonuses. And after uh what Kofi and Nappy were telling me last week, I was like, all right, well, let me go check out this advanced combat guide because they were saying that you can really like enrich the combat if you swap between characters and stuff like that. So I was watching that, um, kind of putting that to use a little bit. It was cool. I like it. I like it how you get to expand your combos and things like that, and get a couple extra achievements. I'm not really an achievement hunter though, so I don't really care um
right.
when you get them. But
Well, speaking of side
oh,
quests, what do they like in Tales of Arise?
side quests in Tales of Arise, um, they are so basically there's like different regions that a lord has reign over,
Mm.
and basically um the lord of that region has like essentially like these quote unquote well, they have these people that they have the freedom to enslave if they choose to, how and do with them as they please. So like basically for the most part you liberate those people, and
Hmm.
then in the first 2 regions you liberate them, and then after you liberate them they give you little side quests to do, like to kind of help them out like in the area. And it might just be like, oh, kill a little monster that's just outside the town, or do you have like some food items for me that I need to cook this meal or stuff like that. Or it could be just healing somebody. It just varies. They're not really story enriching. They're just little things you can do
Things
to
to
kind
do.
of the value in them is that they are quick and they're easy, but they are rewarding, and that they give you more skill points to level up your character's abilities. So like there's like there's there's a level up tree, like where you just, well, I won't say a level up tree. There's leveling up, and then there's like actual skill tree that you get, like I guess combat points. So like the more you fight, the more combat points you rack up, and then you can attribute those points to skills on your skill tree. So
So, so
so the
no
value,
mini games like Triple Triad.
I haven't ran into any mini games, but the value in the side quests is that you get combat points just for doing the side quests. So
Okay.
like um a side quest might give you like a side quest that takes a couple minutes, like literally just giving them some items that you've already collected. They might give you like combat points that would have took you like 20 minutes worth of fighting to get. So like there's value in doing them. Um So it makes it a little bit more rewarding. But yeah, so I've been playing that. I am excited for the DLC. I think it drops in November. So like when I know the DLC is dropping in November, it really makes me slow play a game. So like I'll just like, okay. So I'm like I'm in the third region, and there's to my knowledge there's 5 lords. So I'll probably beat the third lord probably this week, and then I'll go into the next region and take my time and probably beat him like probably the week after, and then jump on that fifth lord like right as the DLC is about to come out. Um, then in the meantime, I'll play like
Smart
my
way to sort of stretch out the play.
yeah, and in the meantime, I'll like play like my multiplayer games throughout the week and stuff like that. Like y'all know I play Madden and all that. So um, but yeah, that's kind of how I do it. Uh, yeah, that's pretty much what I've been up to. It looks like the only person that will roll in late at this point is probably Jubei. Because he like sleeps or whatever. I don't know what he does. Or plus he works like crazy hours, so it's between the
Trying to better
two.
himself in his community.
New baby, so that's a whole nother thing that he's dealing with, that adjustment, especially with the nighttime hours. So he's he's dealing with some changes. So we'll give him a pass. Kofi is Kofi, and Nappy, he's that bachelor, so he's the wild card. Um, and Omar, he's in the process of getting married. So I think he's traveling
He's
right
gonna
now.
be, yeah, he's traveling, so
Yeah,
he'll
he's
be sort
traveling.
of out of pocket for a little bit.
He's traveling. So if y'all want to know where Omar is, he's traveling right now. He's in the process of getting married. So like I think they're going to, I guess, his one of his home countries or something like that, or her home country.
I believe it. Yeah, I believe
Because they live in
it was hers.
they live in Europe, but they're from the Middle East. So
Yeah.
so they're traveling to one of those countries. I don't want to give their itinerary out, so nobody's hunting them down. But yeah, they're one of those countries, having a good time, about to get married. So, if you want to shoot Omar a message, tell him congratulations, feel free. But with that being
Big
said,
moves for the Vitamin G crew.
yeah, big moves for Vitamin G crew, having babies, getting married, uh, and all things above. Zero's just drinking. That's all he does. Just drinks and plays video games.
Nice cup. I have a
He's a
nice
he's
cup
a
of water in front of me right
he's
now.
he's a nice uh happy man that does not want to contribute bringing life to the world. So he's gonna live the best of the world for all his days without any
I'll do it.
sacrifice.
I'll do it for you guys.
He'll take on some nephews though, hopefully.
A whole gang of them and nieces and everything in between.
All right. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into our first topic of the day. Really a bombshell that hit us what is it, last week. And that is Jim Ryan retiring. So Zero, the first thing I guess I want to ask you is what was your reaction when you heard the news?
A bit shocked just because, like, with the state of the industry, it seemed like why would he retire now?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure we'll go into his specific reasonings. But it took me by surprise. PlayStation they seem to be doing okay. The PS5 is in sort of the middle of its lifespan or close to it. There's still a lot of work to be done, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And so I was very interested to see, like, he's stepping down. He's done. Hopefully he is steered the ship in a way that whoever is replacing him will continue to move it forward. And whatever's best way for Sony. I certainly wish him the best. The man is, I'm sure, set for life. So like retirement should be
Oh yeah,
comfortable for him. Hopefully, unless he's one of those.
been with Sony for 30 years. So yeah, could be.
Yeah, like they've got to give. I mean, outside of just he's an executive. They make a whole bunch of money. If he's very smart with it, he should be set for life. But I'm sure Sony also gave him a very nice compensation package. And like Jim Ryan's done, or done-ish. But as far as we know, currently Jim Ryan's done. Like he is done with the industry. I am sure he might pop up from here to there to do X, Y, or Z. But on an overall basis, like the leader, he How long has he been the leader of PlayStation or Sony?
I would probably say he had the shortest tenure of everyone. He's only been there since 2019.
Really
Yes,
interesting.
yes. So, um, so let's go into his reasoning, and then I'll give my perspective.
Mhm.
Um, basically, well, not basically. And he put out a letter, explaining his retirement, and but his main reason was basically to be around his family more. He said the traveling was getting to him, and that he wanted to be around his family more. It's kind of interesting, considering that he's always traveled as yeah, I mentioned that he was with the company for 30 years. Um, his role with the company required him to travel even when he wasn't the CEO. He always traveled. That was just a part of the job. Um, I don't think that was necessarily an additional duty that was put upon him, but that was part of his reasoning. Um, and some of the interesting aspects of him leaving is one, they don't have a replacement in mind. This is not a clean departure from Sony. Typically, like when Sean Layden left and when other CEOs left, they had a succession plan in place. So this is an abrupt retirement. This isn't um something that was planned based on what we can see. Um Someone from Sony Major, um Hiroki Totoki, who is the Sony Group Corporation president, CEO, COO, and CFO, um, has assumed the role of SEC chairman pretty much effective immediately. Um, so this is a very abrupt decision that is coming very much out of, I won't say out of the blue, but it is a very swift decision for Jim Ryan to retire. And in my opinion, I do not think that he chose to retire. Especially considering that this announcement comes up on the heels of Microsoft clearing all their blocks on the ABK deal. Like they announced that the ABK deal is going to be finalized this month, and he's retiring and being he's not even allowed to remain as acting CEO until March. There's someone that's taking place pretty much effective immediately, because the announcement came out uh last week. That was September, and Sony said that Hiroki Totoki is taking the role of SIE chairman next month. So we're in next month right now. So
So
he's
got it at
essentially,
this point.
huh?
He's basically got it at this point.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
got the role now.
yeah. So and that's in addition to still doing all of his other duties as Sony Group Corporation president, CEO, president, COO, and CFO. Um so now he as chairman, so he has four roles um at Sony at the moment. Sony Major and one of their subsidiaries. So it's kind of wild. I can't imagine that this was something that was planned by Jim Ryan, or something they had been put forth in advance with no succession plan. And it seems like it's coming from above him, because I feel like if it were a situation where this was something that they were kind of planning on taking place, that they would have one of the internal people um at that's already working at Sony Interactive Entertainment, the PlayStation branch, ready to assume those duties, or they would already kind of have that person like in training to take place. Like because this is not something that we have seen from Sony before, where a CEO has pretty much been not only decided to leave, but then be removed of their duties so swiftly. Um, you have any thoughts on what I said said, Zero?
So I actually agree a little bit. It's a bit more sudden than I would think. I think his reasoning is solid. Because I can imagine just like I'm just tired of doing this.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think his
the travel is
reasoning.
hard.
Yeah,
Yeah, like I think his reasoning is solid. Like you know, it's not one of those vague to spend more time with my family type of things. Um, I think what it really sounds like to me is that there are multiple things that happen that cause this to like to cause this result. You know, I am not going at all to assume or pry anything into this man's personal life, but like it could be something on the personal side with like his family, in combination with whatever might be going on above him from the Sony side, in combination with his own frustrations of not being able to be home more often or just being tired, um, combined with things we might not even know. There could be health concerns, there could be anything, you know, a wide gamut of things that we don't necessarily understand that has caused him to leave. But I do agree, it does seem a bit sudden, especially because they don't really have a successor lined up for him, that's pretty strange. That means this wasn't something that I think he announced. You know, when people retire, you know,
yeah.
and when they're getting ready to retire, the company knows.
You know, years in
Because
advance. Like
exactly,
you know about like a year and a half in advance. Typically, like when it's a higher level person, like we work at companies. When they're about to retire, they kind of make it known, and like you kind of start having meetings about it, and like it's
I mean,
not something.
they're definitely on the panel to help choose their replacement.
Yeah.
You know what
So
I mean? Like,
like it's that's just like what's happening right now is not standard operating procedure for how a CEO transitions out from a company.
and you know, personally, because again, my concern is concern as it may be. You know, my concern is just like I hope it's not something like. And what I mean by bad is like I hope it's not something like there's something going on with his health or there's something
Nah.
going on with his family. You know, as you know, as bad as it may sound, I'd much rather it be Sony wasn't happy with him anymore than you know something more personal that's affecting him that kind of forced him to be out. Like I don't want that for him or anybody in that sense. So like I hope that's not the case. And again, maybe you know, heck, it could be he's tired of Sony. He's like, I'm tired
Well,
of this, man. I don't want to do this anymore.
my perspective on it is for the better part of half his tenure as CEO. Like if we look at it, it's only been 4 years. It feels like it's been longer because like I don't know. Um, the best way I guess I'll say it is that it's kind of like he's been around long enough that you kind of like if you don't think about it, you attach the success of the PlayStation 4 kind of like pretty much solely to him because like all the big blockbusters that came out kind of came out, as he was CEO. Um, the Ghost of Tsushima's, the Horizons, well, God of War didn't come out. He came out. That was 2018. But it all feels like it came around, his tenure. So, it feels like he's been around for a while, because of, all these games that came out during his tenure. But um yeah, COVID too. On top of that. And then but if you really look at his tenure, while Sony has experienced success during his tenure, you gotta look at these last 2 years of Xbox acquiring Activision and kind of the way Sony kind of got dragged through the mud with it, as far as all the legal stuff they had to go through and the documents they had to submit in the process of fighting it, and then doing everything you can to block it and then losing it. Like I I'm pretty sure that when he decided to fight the ABK acquisition, I'm pretty sure that wasn't his decision solely. I'm pretty sure his bosses came to him and said, "Man, you got to do what you got to do to make sure that this doesn't happen. This company is very valuable to us." I'm pretty sure that he wasn't, acting as a lone wolf within his company. Like he has people to answer to as well. So, I think when they took that risk and they got exposed in the way that they did, um, on top of, maybe certain products not hitting the way that they expected with the VR and things like that. Um, and then the shift to live service and the fact that you only have pretty much one studio in the PS5 life cycle really giving you any output um that you haven't recently acquired. I think all of that just kind of added up and kind of um led to their decision to move in a different direction.
And I don't disagree with that either. I particularly on your point about like I think it sounds like all of it. You've got a CEO who took over in 2019, a year before the world effectively broke.
Yeah.
And then so it's this new position in managing the whole thing of COVID, which is a very good point. Then it is just his my general personal things about like traveling so much. He was uh, president of SIE Europe and then president of global marketing, which is going to have you traveling everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
You couple that with, all right, Xbox is making these giant moves. Jim, go do something. And it's like, I'm doing my best, but like, I can't like just walk into Phil Spencer's office and be like, hey, Phil, stop this. Like, they're going to do it with or without me. We can only do our best to like, and do what we can. And maybe they were pushing in wrong directions that he didn't want to push in. Um, or maybe they weren't pleased with his output or the status of how the deal went down and how it sort of made PlayStation look. There could be so many things which could lead to just an entire frustration on his part saying, we're not going to do this anymore. Or I'm not going to do this anymore. And with Sony also saying like, we're good because we didn't have plans on doing this anymore with you anyway.
Yeah, because I mean
So
he's been forced to weather a hell of a storm. Like he come
yeah,
like it's not just the whole ABK thing. You got to really look at everything that they've had to do with, even despite all the success that Sony's had. Like as an executive, he's had to deal with a lot. He had to deal with Game Pass coming out of nowhere and kind of just changing the dynamics of the industry right before him, and then he had to pivot and figure out, what am I gonna do with this PlayStation Now service that is, that's basically had a stagnant, what, 5 million subscribers, and what can I do to make this more viable? Because I'm pretty sure that when Game Pass is announcing 5 million more subs, basically what, every 3 to 4 months, because when the COVID spike happened, the subs were just going crazy at the time. So I think when they're seeing that and everything else, and like I think Jim had a lot on his head, and I think he did what he could, but the combination of Xbox's moves and the pandemic slowing up development and all this other stuff, I think it really impacted his tenure. I'm not gonna. I was never a fan of Jim personally. I didn't think he was the right guy, for the job long term, but I didn't think he was horrible either. He kind of just he kept things afloat, but he was at the time that he took over, it wasn't a time to keep things afloat. If Xbox would have kind of stayed stagnant and not, been moving the way that they move, I think, he would still be there because PlayStation, by all metrics is pretty successful. They're selling a lot of games. A lot of the third parties are mainly
yeah.
selling on PlayStation. Um, you know,
And now they
uh,
managed to get a successful TV show.
yeah, they got two successful shows. Twisted Metal is doing well. Last of
Oh
Us is
yeah, I
doing
forgot
well.
about Auto Cement. Yeah.
Um, I think Uncharted experienced a level of success.
Yeah, I think
So
it made money.
yeah, so I mean, he's done relatively well, but the thing is, like, um, when what's the what's the executive I'm thinking about? I don't know if y'all seen it, but Peter Moore recently was on Iron Lords, and he was just talking about, his experience in the gaming history, and they don't really, like, when you're at the higher level, the success now is important, but it's not really what they're looking at. They're always looking at the future. um so he was talking about when he transitioned from Xbox to EA, when they brought him in to be the head at EA. He said the very first meeting that he went into was like I guess they called it like a burning oil rig or whatever meeting, and basically they was like, well, you know, we're doing great right now, profits at an all-time high, but the industry's changing, and like we're gonna have to fire half you guys. We'll give you a couple months to find jobs, but everything's going digital. We won't need any physical guys anymore. Like, so even though things are going great, they're always looking at the dynamics of where the industry and gaming is going. So even while things may look great right now for Sony, what they're seeing is probably something that they didn't like. And the thing is, I kind of feel, if he is indeed getting forced out, I feel like it's what's the word I'm looking for? Impulsive. And I don't feel like it was the right move to force him out so swiftly without a successor in mind. Um, if that indeed is the case, what took place, because um, there's nothing that he can do about, you know Microsoft deciding to acquire a corporation. I mean, the only thing that he could have done is accepted the 3-year deal that um Microsoft presented them originally. And I know people may say that deal was a better deal because that deal assured that they would get, a larger portion of Activision Blizzard King's library. Um But at the same time, it's only a 3-year deal, versus now he did get a 10-year deal that secures Call of Duty, which is really the only main title that Activision makes at the moment. Um Activision doesn't make a lot of games. Like, I've been saying that for a long time. Like, as of right now, they don't make a lot of games. So did he lose out? I would say no, he didn't lose out on the
You know,
deal that Sony, that Xbox, that he ultimately got. I don't think he lost out on that 10-year deal, because there's nothing that Activision Blizzard was gonna drop within those 3 years that he was gonna get. You get what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like,
we talked about it when like the deal was partially when the deal was finally done or believed to be done. And I believe you even said it. The idea was like really, PlayStation got the better end of the deal. Xbox sort of lost on it because what Xbox wanted is what they offered,
yeah,
and what they
3-year
offered
deal.
was that 3-year deal.
Yeah,
Xbox didn't get that 3-year deal.
3 years, and we can revisit it at any time. Because what if it's 3 years from the time the deal's closed? It's 2023 now. So
Exactly.
2023 now. Um, and at the end of those 3 years, Xbox could have been like, hey, well, we already know based on the other leaked documents that we got, we plan on kicking off a new generation in 2028. So this new generation starts in 2028. So all your COD players, they about to find out that in 2028, COD is exclusive to Xbox. So that is very much a possibility that they could have been faced with. But now they have a 10-year deal, which kind of ensures that as they go into the next generation,
I've got to think about them
a,
Sony people.
a community of COD players won't have to decide between what console they have to play on. So
Yep.
I don't think that I don't think that is, in reality a horrible deal, because a 3-year deal in actuality from the time that Microsoft acquires them, it takes 5 to 6 years to develop, any type of AAA title that Sony would realistically want on their platform. So 3 years is nothing. And that's why Jim Ryan fought it. He was right for fighting it. The only thing that you could say where he went wrong is not having the foresight to realize that ultimately I'm not going to win this, and let me use these regulators to get the most that I can. Where he failed at was not signing a deal until the FTC lost in court.
Well, but like you said though, perhaps he wanted to do that, but the powers that be told him no.
Maybe,
maybe.
But I'm saying if there's anything you can critique about that 10-year deal that he signed, it would be that. That would be the only thing that you can critique, is that he waited. He didn't leverage the fact that Microsoft had to go to court with all these regulators to get this deal through. He didn't leverage that and get the best deal he possibly could before they even got to court. So if he could have when everyone else was signing their 10-year deal, he should have signed. PlayStation should have signed that 10-year deal as well. I'm not saying that was his decision, at all. But if there was any opportunity for that to take place, that was the time, and that's probably the only thing that you can really, knock him for as far as this acquisition is concerned. But I do think that a lot of things that were out of his control led to this retirement taking place. And one thing I want to say also is that with Microsoft going on this buying spree, it's a much different situation for Sony. Sony has no incentive to purchase any company. They already get all the games they want, right? So any company that they purchase is only to their detriment, because they take on all of their operating costs and all their development costs, development budgets, marketing, all that. They take all that on the moment that they acquire that company. When you're already getting every game coming to your platform, essentially, there's no incentive in purchasing a company. Like, can you imagine if 3 years ago or 2 years ago, instead of buying Bungie, which Bungie hasn't done anything for them. Destiny has become worse since they purchased them, because they've been so focused on helping Sony with making their own live service games. That hasn't gone well for them. But if instead they allocated that $3.6 billion and maybe a little bit more, and they purchased Square Enix like everyone has been saying, can you imagine if they did that? And then we see where Square Enix is now. They just took a $2 billion loss. Because people were just losing faith in the company. That's a loss that Sony would have incurred on top of, the investment that's investment that they wouldn't be able to recoup. It already didn't sell enough when it was on their platform alone. That's another issue right there. It not saying that they lost money on it. It hit the sale. It was within their target of what they wanted, but it wasn't this smashing success that they're like, oh yes, like this game, exceeded our expectations. It was within range. So, and being within range wasn't good enough. So can you imagine if Sony purchased a company like that and had to deal with that? Sony is really as the leader, they're in an impossible position when it comes to, acquiring large publishers or large companies. Like purchasing small companies where it makes sense, that does make sense for them, because they can nurture those companies and do different things with them. But purchasing like these large publishers, like the Bethesda or Bungie, like it doesn't make sense when you're already getting those games. So it's really only to their detriment. And I think Jim realized, like, Jim was really, like, Xbox put Jim in an impossible position if that is, if these are the type of moves that led to him being forced to retire. Like,
Well,
it's
I
tough.
mean, impossible just based on what the expectations were.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
It needs to, and far be it for me to defend the millionaires out here, but just as a general point of reference, like Phil Spencer has been very candid and open about, like, it took him a very, very long time to really convince Microsoft, the company, how important like these video game divisions are, and he's screaming to the rooftops, and for a very long time, no one was really listening. They seem to finally be listening now after so many years. But imagine if they listened to him when he first started doing this, or whoever else was in charge before then, Don Matrick or
yeah,
whoever, who led to that position. And so, if this is the reason for Jim's exit, and it is a bit of like, we can't really come to terms with what we want to do, so it is easier for me to leave than it is to stick around and try to, fit a round peg into a square hole, then I'm leaving. And if with a man with 30 years at the company, Jim's got to be in his 60s,
yeah.
probably close to 70s now. Like, he is very much retirement age, so he can just be done with it all, which I admire, I aspire to, of course. Um, but if he couldn't provide what they wanted, then you're right. It is a bit of an impossible situation, because it seems like for a lot of the tech industry, if you will, it is not the usual, "Well, what have you done for me lately?" It is more, "What have you done for me lately, and what are you going to do for me in the future?"
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I don't know. Like, well, how are you going to beat Game Pass? It's like, maybe we don't concern ourselves with Game Pass. Maybe we go a different route. Or, how are you gonna top this ABK kit deal? It's like, well, maybe we don't top the ABK deal. Maybe we do something else. Like, we don't necessarily have to keep swallowing up companies. That's just my personal opinion. But if Jim had that sort of same mindset too, like, maybe we do something else. We know where our strength lies. Let's just, augment that with some extra things that we might be missing. Who knows? Or it could be legitimate, like it says, bro, I'm tired.
Yeah.
Like, I've been doing this for 30 years, and as far as I can tell, at least the last two positions he had definitely would have him travel at minimum probably twice a month. And
Yeah.
that's going back and forth to Europe, to Sony's on the West Coast, but they have offices all around the globe. This is a
But
pre-pandemic world where, like,
and
not everybody's doing the whole Zoom thing. You hopping on
but
that plane and you going and shaking hands and
well,
kissing babies and all this type of stuff.
uh, unless he's meeting, like, we know Phil Spencer travels a lot too. We know more about his traveling itinerary than we do about Jim Ryan's, because Phil Spencer's a lot more public. But um, from what we know, like, you really only travel to meet third party partners, and I don't know how much traveling that requires. But I don't think, in regards to the first party, he would have to travel that much unless he was visiting a studio. But the way that it feels that Sony works, it feels like um Jim Ryan is very much like CEO-ish, in that he doesn't necessarily go down to, like a Insomniac or a Naughty Dog and really check on the development of a game hands on. He doesn't really seem like much of a gamer or anything like that. In that manner, it seems like that would be something more Herman Hulst would do, as far as traveling, as far as first party is concerned. So I think most of his travel would either be in regards to seeing his bosses, if that were a need, or third party partners.
Yeah, or okay, at SIE in Europe, chances are he had to live in Europe,
Yeah,
which either if his
he's from the
family
UK. He's from
didn't
the
move.
UK.
Okay, so that means if he lives in Europe, then that means if he's got to come to the U.S. pretty frequently, and his family lives in Europe, like, it's just we all
10
know
hour
people who
flight.
work. Like, I
That's
know
over.
people who work pretty mid-high level jobs who travel an awful lot, and I
Yeah,
think sometimes, like, we're in a pre-pandemic world, post-pandemic world now, where, like, a lot of that travels out of the window. Like, hop on Zoom, we're gonna get these calls done. But
Yeah.
like, for any high level ranking member of almost any organization, chances are they're traveling an absurd amount for frankly no good reason.
Yeah.
Because 2020 showed that you don't have to do that. But like, like you're saying, it's Jim, I need you to hop on this plane with me. We got to do this meeting. Like, can't you take it? I can, but I want you here too.
Like, yeah.
Why? Yeah, for what? Like, you got it. Go get it done. But you understand how the corporate policy works in the industry, and that's just what you do. Go out, you schmooze, you do all of the type of stuff. And again, at 63 years old, I can imagine, bro. I'm tired.
Is he
Only travel I want
63?
to do was on my
I think
time.
he's in his 50s.
I
He's younger than Phil Spencer. He's 2 years younger. Doesn't look like it,
no,
but yeah.
I'm looking it up. Yeah, Jim Ryan, 63.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought someone said he's 53. I don't know.
Frankly, if he retired at 53, it'd be even more impressive.
Yeah, I think he's 53. See, Jim Ryan age. It doesn't matter. He's retiring. Jubei, since you done straggled in, how are your
Yes, sir.
blue toes and what are your thoughts on the whole Jim Ryan abruptly retiring?
My blue toes is fine. It was good luck. I caught some shit. I mean, for the brand for PlayStation, I think it's great. I think it's great that he's leaving. Because they've done nothing but rest on their laurels since he became a thing.
Okay,
They haven't really been pushing anything.
I mean, is it really? Is it really easy to say that he's rested on his laurels? He's only been there for 4 years. Like it's a very short tenure.
I mean,
Like to be like,
but he's been at PlayStation for longer than that.
but
So
we
that
can only
doesn't
judge
matter.
him. We can only judge him on his 4 years as CEO. And I mean, I feel like that's like, bro, he hasn't even gotten a full development cycle of like AAA titles.
That sounds like a him problem. I'm pretty sure he's getting a nice. I'm pretty sure he's getting a nice little check to retire and shit, plus his benefits and 401k and all that shit.
But I'm just saying it's just hard to say that he rested on his laurels. He wasn't really given that much time. Like we won't see the byproduct of Jim Ryan's decisions for another 3 or 4 years.
And that is if the next person in charge still wishes to implement that shit.
Well,
They could change.
All right,
They could change.
They can't afford to change. Like
you never.
Jubei. Like, really think about it. How many Sony first-party studios has released a title this generation? How many? And I'm not talking about the new ones they purchased, because we know Housemarque has released one. We know Insomniac has given them a lot of output. And they really and they acquired Blue Point. Most of their titles this generation have come from studios that they've recently acquired. The Sony core studios, how many of them have shown us a game, a new game?
Oh, zero. Absolutely zero.
So you're telling me all those studios would cancel their?
I mean, actually, I can't say that. I can't say that because
you got one.
The Gran Turismo.
You got two.
Gran Turismo. That's it.
You got two. No, you got God of War Ragnarok. You got two. And you got
but again, that's still it's still a PS4 game, bro. Like
it don't matter. It came out during this generation. You got God of War Ragnarok. You got
so we have
that's from a core.
We have Santa Monica. Yeah, we got Santa Monica. We got Gorilla, and then we got Polyphony. That's it.
So yeah, everything else.
So we got three.
Everything else has come from a recently acquired studio, and so you're telling me that all of that this new person comes in and cancels all of those games? That means all of those core studios will not release another game for another 5 to 6 years. That means they will not.
I mean, I don't know about
that means all of them won't. I mean, we all know they're all working on live service type titles, but that would mean like outside of like Insomniac and these new studios that they purchased, all of their core studios would essentially skip in a generation. Like that can't happen.
I would like it to not happen, but how I see it is,
I'm telling you that can't like from a business perspective that can't happen. Like that just
so what happens if these live service games flop?
They gotta
when they come out.
They gotta come out.
I know they gotta come out.
If they flop, they flop. They gotta come out. They gotta come out. If they flop, they flop. But at this point, as far as we are into this generation, like if this new CEO decided that all of our core studios who are currently actively developing new titles aren't releasing anything. That means Naughty Dog's not coming out with nothing. That means whatever. Can't even think of the damn studio's names right now. Dude, gotta look them up now. Let me look up these studios. They're escaping my brain. It would pretty much just be Insomniac. So you're telling me Sony
it's pretty much been Insomniac.
But what I'm saying is you're telling me that is all it would be for this generation. Like that can't happen. Like you can't.
I feel you, but they also just win an entire calendar year and have one first-party game to show for it. That's not DLC.
So if this new CEO came in and canceled all these live service games, you're telling me Asobi, Bend, we're not going to count them. We're not going to count them. We're not going to count them. They released a game. London Studio, Media Molecule, Naughty Dog.
You're saying we're not gonna get anything from Naughty Dog till closer to the end of the gen, which sucks.
Sucker
That's
Punch.
just how I feel.
Like you're telling me all these studios. But what I'm saying is if this new person came in and was like, yeah, we're not doing those live service games anymore, scrap them. Like what? Like, or if you decide to scrap them, then you're not getting a game this generation. If you decide to repurpose them, you're gonna get a whole bunch of Redfalls. They just gotta release live service games.
Even if they're bad.
Even if they're bad. What I would do if I were this, to me, canceling them is not an option. To me, the only legitimate option would be to say, hey, Bungie, get out of these developers' way. Let them make what they're gonna make, and we're just going and you can give little input here and there, but you need to go get Destiny straight. You need to make sure Marathon is a hit, because even though you operate semi-independently, we're still funding all of this, and we can't afford for this shit to fail. So that would be what I would tell them. I would say, if anything, like you ain't no way all them games can get canceled. The most you can do is tell Bungie to go be Bungie again and stop trying to oversee all these studios, which I think is an impossible and unfair task that was put upon them. I mean, they signed up for it. They took the money, but still, it still baffles me that Bungie is being used in the manner that they're being used to kind of tell these studios what they should and shouldn't be doing. But yeah, you can't cancel all those games today. But keep on going. I'm sorry, but yeah, all them games can't get canceled.
And I feel you. Maybe not cancel those games, but I feel like a pivot is going to happen. Maybe they start pushing more into mobile. Since they wasted all this money on R&D for that fucking portal fish.
Interesting you say that. The new CFO, the new CEO is a mobile guy at Sony.
Like, what I'm saying, like, he does with, like, because Jim Ryan wasn't pushing mobile. He was pushing live service. But like, I can see maybe the live service still happens, but the main priority might to be a mobile push.
That was probably his biggest his biggest development mistake was choosing to go live service over going mobile, because going mobile is going live service. You're doing both.
Yep.
But the development cost for a mobile game is so much lesser.
The ROI. The ROI for a mobile game. Crazy.
So
even if it's not that successful.
Yeah, the dev time, like the moment that they locked up Genshin Impact, and had all that success with Genshin Impact, they should have been talking to those guys, like, and replicating the same thing with mobile. Like, there could have been a Last of Us mobile, there could be Horizon mobile, like, and they would have if they would have took all that VR money and put it into mobile, they'd probably be a lot happier right now. I will say that. But yeah, keep on going, man. I'm gonna let you get it out. I'm gonna stop talking. I'm about to mute myself.
Yeah, like I said, I just think like overall, Sony will be in a better position with gone. This is, I just feel like he only cared about trying to milk every dollar. Like he wasn't. I don't see his long-term play. Like you're not putting your games day one on PC, even though by the time they come out on PC, they still, you get some sales, but it's nothing like when the game first comes out. And you really act like this shit's gonna cannibalize your sales. Like, fucking most popular gaming platform, not named fucking Nintendo. So I just didn't see the logic behind all of that. You got to understand how much it costs to port something to PC. All those man hours, you could be maximizing that by just full releasing it. Your PlayStation players will have $2,000 PC game. They'll still buy their shit on PlayStation. They always have. Just a missed opportunity.
I mean, you gotta give Jim credit for even doing PC though, because without him, before him, PC was not even an option at Sony. So
I'm pretty sure his mind was twisted. I'm pretty sure he didn't want to do it, but some financial dude said, "Hey, bro, we have to."
However it happened, it happened. So you got to give him some credit. However it happened, you got to like before you came in here. My take is I don't think you know me. I've never been a fan of Jim Ryan. I've always made that known. I don't think he was the right move to make CFO. But I feel like, I mean, he came in 2019. That's when his tenure started. So it's been a 4-year run, and he's been hit with an impossible. Like he kind of got hit over the head and didn't have the tools or the ability to kind of combat all the things he was hit with. Like you got to think about it. What do you got? You got Game Pass basically coming into existence at the time that he takes over as CFO. So then as CEO. So then that goes crazy. So then when that goes crazy, I'm pretty sure his bosses are like, "Hey, look, you got to figure out how to get this PlayStation Now thing that we've had, I believe, since 2013, and we're still sitting on 5 million subs, and they're sitting on 20. Because they got to 20 during the pandemic. So like that happened, and then Bethesda happened, and then ABK happened, and then I think the nail in the coffin with the whole ABK thing, because all of that litigation that they did trying to block it kind of really exposed Sony and kind of how they do business, and so all these documents and all these insights into how Sony operates, and then ultimately losing out, and the fact that pretty much a week after the CMA announced that they're going to clear the deal, he's retiring. I think that there's a correlation to that. And but really, I just think Jim was really came in at an impossible task. If his job was just to keep the boat afloat, and Xbox was kind of just being Xbox that everyone thought they were gonna be, that they weren't gonna be this juggernaut that I told them that Microsoft was gonna be, but you don't want to listen to me. I think he'd be fine.
It
But
took him a long ass time to get there.
It did, but I told you where it was going, and everything I said so far has happened. The only thing that hasn't, well, I said they wouldn't win in console sales, but everything else that I said would happen is happening. And
I mean, I don't disagree. I just feel like people have been saying that since Xbox first arrived on the scene. Like, I guess inevitably,
no,
as long as they don't give up.
I gave y'all a very detailed synopsis of what was going to take place in regards to this specific generation and all the things that Phil Spencer was going to do. Y'all acted like some of y'all acted like I was crazy. Not all of y'all. Some of y'all acted like I was crazy.
I listened intently, bro.
Hey, it will remain to be seen. But they do seem to be on the right path.
Well, the only thing that's remained to be seen is how successful it is. They've done it. They've done the TV thing. They've done the mobile thing. They're everywhere you want to be now. They're doing the iPhone versus Apple strategy. They're doing that the iPhone versus Android strategy. Like they're winning and just being everywhere. That's their strategy, and so far, it's and they're purchasing up tons of content. To the point where I guess they're trying to be the Disney of the gaming industry because their library is going to be so extensive. But yeah, so that's pretty much what I said beforehand. Is that Jim was just really put in an impossible situation. Like literally, that's what I was talking about with Zero right before you came in.
How much more impossible was Jim's compared to Bill's from that dumpster fire? He came in and said, "Hey, bro, y'all, there's no way. I'll get smacked. It's over."
Well, Phil Spencer was put in his own. Phil Spencer was put in his own impossible situation, but his impossible situation was an internal issue, which is something that he could deal with. Most of the things that Jim Ryan had to deal with was external. So, Phil got a little bit lucky in the sense that, Terry Myerson left, and then as Terry Myerson left, Satya Nadella came in. So he had a fresh set of eyes to look at the Xbox brand. That's, Satya is a career is a career Microsoft person just like Phil is, so he's been there through it all. But he got a set of fresh eyes, as a CEO to really look at this product, and he had the opportunity to explain why it would be viable and then get a new level of investment and a new level of power and decision making with the actual Xbox brand. Like that's not something that Jim Ryan was presented with. He was brought with a company and a product that was already the market leader, that was already getting every single game that they wanted. And then now there's some, $1 trillion company on the block that wants to buy up everything. And basically at this point, like Sony has to realize that they're not the big fish, that they're the little fish. And I mean like big Sony has to realize that they're the little fish, not the PlayStation people. Because the moment that they realize that Sony is now the little fish, they will be able to pivot and move in a manner like Nintendo and still be extremely profitable. I'm not saying like Nintendo they got to get out of AAA gaming and just like let's keep it a buck. Like all of Nintendo Switch's games are essentially on a AA budget just because of the hardware that it runs on. It just doesn't require as much development costs and everything else. So you get to do. They don't have to pivot to that what Nintendo did, but they get to move in a Nintendo like manner where they realize that we're not the big fish in this, and that's why Nintendo has survived. Nintendo has survived because they haven't tried to be more than what they are. They have pivoted and adapted, and the quicker that the people above Sony realize that and start utilizing things like mobile and and things like that. Because I think the worst thing that they did, well, I can't say it's 100% the worst thing they did, was the moment that the Bungie acquisition happened. They said, "Oh, Microsoft has 23 studios. We can get to 23 studios." And they bought a bunch of studios that got them to the equal amount of studios that that Microsoft had. Like that was their reasoning, basically. Because I mean, if you put 200, like Sony was not on a buying spree before that. Like that's what everyone was saying. Everything they did was organic. They went on a buying spree the moment the Bethesda acquisition happened. They purchased a bunch of studios that got them to an equal number of studio names, even though they might not have the same amount of teams. But that's what they did. They got there, and then the Activision acquisition happens, and then lo and behold, what 2-3 months later, they purchased Bungie. Like everything they've done has been reactionary, and it's just been the wrong reaction. If you ask me, they would have been better off using those. Like they probably used $6-7 billion. They would have been better off reusing that money to like do mobile and other things like that, because now they're stuck with all these studios, and they have to turn them all into something profitable, and that's gonna be tough.
It is.
Because what that one studio,
so,
Firewalk, two of the studios that they purchased have never made a game.
That's true. They're new.
Yeah. So they purchased a studio. They purchased 2 studios that they've never. They don't even know what they're capable of making. They have no. They just have faith in the heads of those studios, but they don't know the caliber or quality of what that team has shown that they can make. So it's a lot of like they've taken a lot of risk that I don't believe that they necessarily needed to take. They didn't have to react that fast because, like I said, they already are getting every game that they want. Like the couple of games that Bethesda makes, and they didn't have to play catch up in that manner. If you ask me. So, you asked me, that was probably the only mistake. But does anybody else has anything else to say in regards to this Jim Ryan topic?
Good luck, Jim.
I'm just over them being reactionary. I want to see PlayStation like them again. I don't know if that'll ever happen again. So we'll see.
Good luck, Jim, on whatever you do next. Weird question that I was thinking about. Do you think the former CEOs of these companies have to buy consoles? Like, they just get them, right?
Yeah, I would assume that you just get one. You just like kind of walk downstairs.
Like you just call.
One.
Yeah, or like somebody just shows up at your door, like here's your PS5, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Like, be on their way.
Yeah, that's what I would assume.
Yeah. Like, I don't know why I don't. Like, I would just think, like, and for me, it's like for eternity, like how presidents like just get security for the rest of their lives. I believe it like no matter where you are in stage, like if you came in at Xbox at the first and you were the first CEO Xbox ever had, it doesn't matter getting consoles. Maybe there's a limit, but like their children should never have to want for a console.
I would say that even if it is not free, like they don't necessarily have to purchase it. It might just get expensed out, even if it's not free. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it'll show up on your pay stub as a deduction, even if you didn't like you're not swiping your credit card to get one. Basically, like I think that would be the work, and then you probably get it like at cost. So like if it costs,
I mean like former, like Jim Ryan's gone. So like in 2032, when the PlayStation 6 dropped,
man, they better
Jim Ryan gets a knock on his door.
Yeah, they better ship
one knock on his door. Like, here you go, Mr. Exactly. Here you go, Mr. Ryan. Here's your PlayStation. Like, that's just part of the package. Like, that would be part of my package. Like, you gotta keep me.
Well, you're a gamer. You're a gamer, so that might be. He's not. He's admittedly not.
I mean, he got kids. I'm sure they're grown kids by this point, but like, he's got grandkids.
He has grandchildren. So yeah, I mean, that would be cool. If he still got,
if my grandfather worked at. Yeah, like if my grandfather was president, CEO of a video game company, every Christmas better be video game Christmas for me.
You better get every game early, every beta,
Yeah, that's
every
easy.
alpha, every
They should
review
know
code.
me. Yeah, I should walk into the office and be like, "What's up, y'all? How y'all doing? I'm just here for lunch. Like, I'm not really gonna do anything. Sit in meetings if I want to. Like, I should be able to have free reign of the building."
You're stretching it now, but yeah. So, with that being said, we are going to move into our second topic of the day, and that would be some rumors we have been hearing about for a couple months. I think they first popped up right around the E3 season, maybe May, June, that KOTOR has been canceled. And I think we kind of talked about it back then, kind of gave some opinions on it. But the reason that it's popped back up in the news is that I believe either last week, Thursday or Friday, the trailer for the game was made private on YouTube, so you can't go on YouTube and find the trailer for this title anymore. And when we looked for a reason for that to take place, what we found out was that the reason was that the music was no longer licensed um, to the trailer. So a lot of people are wondering if the game is canceled. And I will let my panel members speak on it first. Since Jubei straggled in late, let's give him first dibs unless he's like doing some baby stuff. So Jubei, what are your thoughts on the possibility of KOTOR being canceled?
That private fucking if it is canceled,
I can't
that
hear
really.
you. Can you speak up a little bit?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. That going private is pretty much signaling what we already can, surmise. It's not great. It's not. I feel for that team. I mean, but from what we've heard, like, hey, it just wasn't good, I guess. So, can I say I'm surprised that it's been canceled? If that's the case, no, I can't. But it still sucks.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be like, yeah. I don't know. And I know Sony was funding this, right?
Sony was funding it, and I think well, I'll save my thoughts, but yeah, Sony was funding it.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah.
I just look like I bet you they just look at it as like, oh damn, we took an L.
Yeah.
Like that sucks.
So
yeah, I mean it's sad. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm excited. I was excited for the game because the original still definitely plays well. But I'm confused because it's like, how do you fuck that up? Like the OG KOTOR, like it's not hard if you're gonna remake remaster. Like it's not hard.
From
Does your studio not have the chops to do like an actual like RPG? Shit, you gotta ask Larian to do it. I guarantee you it would have came out and been fire.
well, from what I had heard from a dude that claimed to be an insider was from the Sony perspective when this Asper team, a lot of the Asper team was actually comprised of a lot of people that worked on the original KOTOR. But the issue that Sony had with the game was one, it wasn't cinematic enough. And I think they were looking for other monetization strategies with KOTOR, which the original KOTOR didn't really have that. So I think those were the two things that kind of led to the original delay of the game. And then once that first delay hit, a lot of people that worked at Asper kind of left as well because they were in limbo, and the only reason that they went to that studio was to make that KOTOR. So that's kind of like some of the things I've heard throughout this time. But yeah, Zero, what are your thoughts?
I think it's interesting. it feels like there's a bunch of things happening at once with this. On the one hand, it's like, did somebody just drop the ball when like not getting the licenses for music? Which is like, how do you drop that ball? It should be like the easiest thing to do.
Well,
Unless you
all the
get some
music,
intern to go.
all that music is Disney music. There's nothing in that trailer that isn't owned by Disney, so that wouldn't be it. But yeah,
No, I mean Disney still gotta get paid.
yeah. But I'm saying
Um,
Disney, like you wouldn't you wouldn't lose the license from Disney from being like reckless on a game that you're making for them, basically.
But is that music owned by Disney or is that
Yeah,
music
so I'm saying
owned by like Lucas?
no, they own all that. That's what I'm saying. That's all Disney.
Couldn't say. Either way, there's still licensing costs. I imagine with it as well.
Yeah.
Like just because we work together, you still got to pay. And because perhaps that's what somebody was thinking. Like it's Disney's game, we can do it. Like no, you still got to like clear it through them. Like because I imagine, like anything else, there are probably certain things you can't use.
Yeah.
So you got to be real clear about what are we doing. But that's probably neither here or there. That's a minor issue. It does unfortunately seem like this game is having some challenges, which to me reads one of two things. One, perhaps this was announced way too early. We're sort of back into the idea, hey guys, Kotor is coming. When? Question mark. Then why tell us? I have no interest. If Kotor is not coming till 2026, I don't care.
Yeah.
I just don't care, man. Like, there's no reason to tell us about this mystical game that isn't coming to 2026. Otherwise, you find yourself in a Metroid Prime 4 situation where it's just question mark.
Yeah.
Or if you go smaller, it's Hollow Knight Silk Song, or it's just question mark. So it's like, okay, when is this supposed to come? Stop showing us stuff that isn't going to come out for like X amount of years. Like, nobody cares. We got other stuff to do and other stuff to play. I've never played KOTOR, so I don't really have any love for the game at all. Nor am I that big of a Star Wars fan, so I don't have love for it in that aspect either. But I would have liked to play it, and from everything I hear, like people just say, like, go play the original.
It's really good. It's a really
which is
unique
on-
experience. Even if you're not a Star Wars fan, because I watch all the Star Wars movies, but even though I watch them all, it's kind of like I watch all the Lord of the Rings movies. I don't consider myself a fan of either. So
Should be a fan of Lord of the Rings. It's one of the greatest trilogies of all time, but we're not gonna get into that.
the movies are too damn long. I love the second one. The third one kind of like threw me for a loop, and it was like too long. Like that's all.
Movies are perfect length for the greatest epic journey of all time.
Did we go see Three Rings together? I think we did see Three Rings together.
Probably because we can't they came out like I forgot how long ago they had come out.
All right, so if you remember,
probably yeah.
I know I went with Kofi. If you remember going to the movies with me to see Three Kings, I got up multiple times and clapped, thinking that the movie was over.
That's wild.
I mean,
Return of the King does stretch it out a lot at the very end.
It's almost like 4 hours, right? It's almost 4 hours.
I think it's like maybe 3:30 with like 3:30. And admittedly, like it's like once the ring is destroyed, it's like, oh, that's the end. No.
Yeah, I got up like 3 times and clapped.
Yeah, then it's King Aragon. It's like, oh, this is the end. No. I was like, oh, it's when they go off and everybody leaves. This is the end. No. Samwise still has to just go home. And that's the actual end. So it was like 4 endings.
Because like the screen went black for like a legitimate amount of time to where you think the credits are about to roll.
Yeah. It's a weakness. It's still one of my favorite trilogies of all time. I love the Lord. I probably watch that series at least 6 times a year.
Okay.
And that's a minimum. I throw that on 6 times a year and watch all.
I can go back and watch Three Kings in the comfort of my home, because I can pause it and do other things if I need to. I could probably go back and give it a watch, but I bought the books and I tried to get into the books, but then like that old English just wasn't rocking with me, so it's just like
the books are actually more of a harder get through than the movies are. There's a lot of filler in the books.
Yeah.
Like there's whole sections that just like this
Bro, I didn't make it 10
Okay.
pages. I didn't make it to the film. I didn't make it 10 pages then. They started talking about Frodo's little house and all that shit, and I was like, yeah, this ain't for me.
Yeah, so it's one of those things. But back to KOTOR. So I do want to play it because I've been very interested in it for a long time. I think if this game is still coming, and there's a part of me that does think it's still coming. It's just now it's when instead of like we should be expecting to see this soon. It's just like don't expect to see this probably for a long time. Like so you might as well just get it out of your mind and just be like, I know they're making a KOTOR game. They will show it to us when they're ready. But particularly, and it's got to be, you got to hit it just right. But particularly with the success of Baldur's Gate 3, like I think you can do a really solid Star Wars game in that pseudo veins. They're a little different because one's Dungeons and Dragons, one is not. But that Star Wars is on not a huge popularity rise, but people are aware that Star Wars is out here. Ahsoka, Mando, all that type of stuff. Like it's in the public consciousness.
I would say I think Star Wars is more popular than we give it credit for. Like the shows like The Mandalorian.
I think it's personally more popular than it's ever been.
I would argue that too.
I just think that as we spend a lot of time in video game spaces, we also externally spend a lot of time in some nerd spaces, and you ask the Star Wars nerds, Star Wars is the worst it's ever been. It's like maybe I don't know, but like there's just so much Star Wars.
It's more mainstream than it's ever been because when you had that core audience that loved it, it wasn't as big. Not saying that it wasn't big, but it wasn't as big. Now it's everywhere, and the purists don't care for it as much. It's kind of like with gaming. Like all the hardcore gamers hate the casual. Yeah, so
and it's just like I don't know. Sometimes and just as we say, like I understand you don't necessarily like the casuals, but I enjoy that because of the casuals. Like there's just so many games out here now.
Yeah.
The last Star Wars came the original trilogy, the last movie came out in the 70s, which means it went from the 70s to the 2000s, where this series was effectively dead.
Yeah.
And then they don't like the prequels. So for the purists, it's still dead. And it takes a long, long time. Now there's just so much Star Wars stuff. If you don't like this one, I'm sure the next thing that's coming up you'll probably like. So keep going with it. And KOTOR is, I think, another example of that. Like even the video games, we've had the best Star Wars video games we've ever gotten with Jedi Survivor.
Yeah, so I would say to the Star Wars purists that don't like episodes 1, 2, and 3, I actually think that's the best trilogy. But if y'all don't like that, go kick.
And I imagine we'll get some of those same conversations when it comes to is it just KOTOR 1 that's being remade, or is it both of them?
I think it's just KOTOR 1 that was scheduled to be remade. But yeah.
2 needs to be remade also. There's chunks missing in that fucking game.
Yeah, but yeah, I would argue that that the episodes 1, 2, and 3, the second trilogy, is the best trilogy. Especially if you pair it with that new Obi-Wan little mini series they did. Yeah.
The new shows have gone a long way in fixing the prequels completely.
Episode 3 is good. If you skip every other chapter, it becomes a really great one. Jack watched it.
Yeah.
It's also you just flip through the damn chapters. You skip all of Anakin's chapters until the final fight.
When you compare when you combine episodes 1, 2, and 3 with the Clone Wars, because the Clone Wars is pretty much what fills in all the gaps. You combine it with that, and then you do the Obi-Wan series. Like it's a really, really solid story. So
the fall of Anakin Skywalker is far more interesting because of Clone Wars.
Yeah. Really going through how he became, Darth Vader to me is more interesting than him being Darth Vader and like him having to fight his son.
And so if KOTOR could have come out in the next couple of years, it would have been, I think, to a boom. Like again, Star Wars is really popular now. People probably would have just gotten it just off the hype, let alone the folks who like really love that game and just really would love to see it updated and with these branching narrative paths and looking better and maybe there's better fighting, all of this type of stuff, or even different and more interesting storylines. And again, this
Disney is partly to blame for that. Their own fucking expanded universe. Like there was so many side stories and interesting things going on that wasn't focused on the damn Skywalker family that they were like, "Hey, we're gonna throw it in the trash." Like,
Yeah.
Which I think was the strength of KOTOR. It was one of the first Star Wars properties that wasn't, and as I understand, is because like they couldn't use it. So like they took a throwaway line from Obi-Wan about like I knew your father back when he fought in the Old Republic, and like pushed it, and it became this excellent thing. So I do hope, and I think it's still coming. I don't know when at this point, but I think they would be wise to take note of the success of Baldur's Gate 3 and what made that popular. And I think you'd be remiss if they don't pay attention to the idea that like I think part of the popularity of Baldur's Gate is that it's also Dungeons and Dragons, and that Dungeons and Dragons also has never been more popular than it is like today and fairly recently.
Yeah.
So it would be wise for them to keep it going, I think. I just hope, I hope they don't scrap it completely. I would like to see what this game does in a more modern sense, in a more Star Wars heavy world.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even say D&D is even accessible. You can now play this shit on your phone. You don't have to write out character sheets and all that shit.
Yeah. So I will say that I will say that I believe that the videos being taken down and it being due to a loss of a license to me signals that the game has indeed been canceled. Especially when you look at the extenuating circumstances with the corporation who is in charge of the studio that is making the game, Embracer Group, and all the struggles that they are going with, that is going on with them, um, combined with these abrupt changes that are taking place at PlayStation. I mean, I just don't see um, where any signs are pointing to the fact that this game has any life left. So I really do think that this game most likely got canceled, but I'm not of the mind that this game will not see the light of day. It may Disney may find another studio to make it. They may reach back out to um Xbox, or they may find another third party um studio to make it. Like they may reach out to Larian, like what y'all did with Baldur's Gate, or they may, or they could reach out to Obsidian because Obsidian worked on it as well.
They're in their choice. They already make RPGs like KOTOR was a D20 fucking game at the end of the day.
But what I'm saying is I think that the KOTOR that Sony was working on, I do believe that is dead. But I don't think the idea of releasing a KOTOR game is dead because Disney was the one that was shopping the idea of making the game to these studios. It wasn't studios reaching out to Disney to make this game. It was the other way around. So Disney wants this game to be made. So do I think the game ultimately finds its way to the light of day? Yes. Will it be a PlayStation exclusive? Will PlayStation have a hand in its creation? That I am no longer confident in what I'm saying. So
that I can see that. Yeah, I just think the hype for KOTOR, somebody's gonna make it, but I agree. I don't know who at this point.
Yeah, I because with everything going on at Embracer Group and everything that is now going on at Sony, I don't think that this game will come out in the way that it was originally intended when it was announced. Yeah. So that being said, Not gonna hold you guys hostage to all night. We're gonna jump into our final topic of tonight, and that will be the Nintendo Switch 2. What are your guys thoughts here? I know that Zero is the one that introduced this topic. It was his topic for the night. And what did you want to talk about in regards to the Nintendo Switch 2 that we've been hearing that the dev kits are out in the wild, but I don't think we've heard anything about spec wise or anything like that.
No, I mean, I think early rumors were just like it's basically a mobile PS4.
Yeah.
Who knows? I don't know. That would probably fall in line with what we usually think, but I imagine it would be a bit more powerful than the PS4. But you know, not certainly probably not on level with the one and the PS5.
Yeah.
But you know, I just wanted to bring it up just because I enjoy the like it feels like now more than ever it's coming.
Yeah.
And,
Finally.
and yeah, like you know, it's been years since people been saying it, and I was like, yeah, sure, but there's no reason to really discuss it in 2020, right? Like we got to circle back to when it feels like it's closer, and it does feel like it's closer. Particularly, a lot of this came from it was sort of the Capcom showcase when they were discussing Monster Hunter, and a lot of people believe that the next Monster Hunter game might be showing up on Switch.
It's kind of a situation where they got to prove it to us.
Yeah, it's still one of those. But because Monster Hunter is at this point pretty closely associated with Nintendo,
yeah,
when we have a sense of like the new Monster Hunter game is coming, it's like it doesn't sound like it's going to be coming on the old hardware, or at least not as a flagship.
Because
Monster Hunter would be
Monster Hunter would be. I was gonna say
it would be a pretty huge for the Switch.
I was gonna say that Monster Hunter is one of those games that no matter how it sells, worldwide, it is catered to its original audience. So it being on the Switch is important.
Well, depending on who you ask, some folks are like it's original audience, Sony people, because that's what it used to be on. But hey, we got Monster Hunter World. Fingers crossed for Monster Hunter World.
When I say original audience, I'm not speaking to platform. I'm speaking to region.
Which is fair, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not speaking to platform, I'm speaking to region.
And it feels like just about that time. Usually, the rumor or sort of belief, or just how it tends to happen. Usually, when the Kirby game drops, is when you can begin to expect for the new system to come around. Seems as though I think occasionally, like a Kirby game will drop just close to the end of any given system's life cycle. So it's sort of that last hurrah. We got the last Kirby game. It came out after Last of Us 2. So I think 2021 was that Kirby game. It was like in the abandoned world.
I can't remember the last time I played a Kirby game. The only time I play with Kirby is on Smash Bros, man.
I was trying to find what the last Kirby in the Forgotten Land, 2022.
Okay.
So usually right when that happens, new system time. I've also always contended with the fact that the new system would never come until the Mario Kart DLC packs are done. The last DLC pack is coming. Okay. So we might be in line for a new Mario Kart. Mario Wonder admittedly did surprise me, but I don't think Mario Wonder is the next big Mario game. I don't know yet. I think they still got another big one in the mix, a la something maybe Galaxy, or how Super Mario? The Switch's Super Mario Odyssey. Super Mario Odyssey. I don't know if Wonder is, the big deal Mario game. This, of course, with all the other games that may or may not come out with it, there's still rumors of a new Donkey Kong game coming. So it seems about right around the time for the new Switch to come in. And the big conversation is with backwards compatibility. I certainly would like it. I just I cannot know with Nintendo. I just never know exactly what they're going to do and how they're going to utilize it. So I just don't imagine. the new Switch would be too different from the old one.
So that's what I wanted to ask you. I got two questions for you in regards to the Switch. One, do you expect there to be some form of backwards compatibility? And two, do you think that the feature set of the console will kind of bring it out of the Stone Ages as far as internet and things like that, and having like applications and other things so that it can really be like your go-to platform for everything? Can I transition from a game to Netflix and things like that? You think that it's
I
gonna?
don't think it's going to be that level of feature complete with things like Netflix, and that level of media sort of interactivity. I still think it's going to be pretty bare bones in that case. I can watch Apple TV from both PlayStation and Sony. I mean, PlayStation and Xbox. I don't think that's coming to Switch in any meaningful way. It might come later, but I don't think it would be a launch feature with it. I suspect for them to, as usual, it should just be just a little behind.
Yeah, I was just asking because if it's gonna be as powerful as the PlayStation 4 and Xbox,
it certainly can do it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It should have the space to be able to kind of do those things. I was wondering if you thought
Yeah,
may really.
to me, it's always difficult to judge just how important Nintendo finds those things, and does the audience uses them find it that important.
And being that it's
personally,
go ahead.
That's it. Personally, I've not. It just, and part of it is the world has just moved on, so it's just like I don't tend to watch anything on my consoles, and not because like I don't want to, but because my TV already has it.
Yeah.
Like there's just no reason to turn on my PS5 to watch Netflix because my TV already has Netflix.
Yeah.
So it's like it just becomes, which I guess to be fair, then would signify that Nintendo would definitely put it on there because they would only do it right after nobody else needs it anymore. And it's like, what, Nintendo? Why would I watch Netflix on you? Yeah. And I can watch it on the TV that I'm playing you.
Well, for their consumer base, they're like Japan and all that, they play it on the go, so having access to those apps on the go may,
Which true, and that's always the like consideration about like that sort of target base, particularly that Japanese audience where the Switch rules supreme. How do they use it and what do they want to use it for? And that I couldn't speak to.
And like they embrace, like if they really embrace the internet and things like that, you could have like a hotspot, where you could maybe add it to your phone plan, get a hotspot so you can really play on the go everywhere as opposed to only where there's Wi-Fi. Like it's just there's potential there, and I'm just wondering if you think they're gonna kind of go there, and then also backwards compatibility. Is that something that you're expecting to have some level of backwards compatibility, or do you think they're gonna try to resell you the games you just bought?
I'm expecting to have some level of it, because I don't think they're going to get rid of their store just yet, and largely because I don't think it's going to be a big jump like it was the GameCube to the Wii. I think it's going to be more of I think it's going to be a better slightly higher lateral move with the Wii to the Wii U. Like I think they want another shot at the Wii U or that transition, and the Switch kind of proved it to be like what the Wii U was always supposed to be. And then if you can just sort of just perfect that just a little bit more. Like I don't think we're going to get something wildly new and crazy. I think we're going to get another Switch just better. And so with that being said, if we get another Switch just better, I don't think they're going to move away from the backwards compatibility. Like I would be absolutely shocked if they move away from like the carts, and switch their entire store once again, change the whole online. And I would be completely shocked. It would make a lot of sense to me at all for them to do any of that. So I think it's going to stay. I think the backwards compatibility is going to stay.
Okay.
I worry some of it might be weird, but fingers crossed. I think what we're getting here, like I think this is really a Nintendo Switch 2, whatever they call it. But I think it's a true like just 2, and not like here's our brand new console. The only question is, what's it going to do different than the Switch 1? I think that's my because none of their consoles are particularly the same from generation to generation.
It's just interesting because you know I think right now Switch doesn't really have a competitor. Like they kind of they're in their own lane, they do their own thing. But I think once you make that leap into this Switch 2, I think once that happens, people who are gonna be transitioning to a new handheld are gonna be looking at other options. Now that they're flooding the market with so many handhelds. I know that they have their own unique library that is only Switch, but when you start looking at features and different things like that, like their community is getting older, and there may be different things that they value. So like these kids that grew up on Switch, they might want those apps, and the Asus ROG or Steam Deck or whatever. I just think it'll be interesting, you know, what they do to kind of match kind of the handhelds that are on the current market because when the Switch came out, there weren't really any handhelds on the market. So,
Yeah, we've never known, particularly in the handheld market, we've never known how Nintendo viewed. Like, I don't know if we ever knew how Nintendo viewed the PSP. I don't. Clearly, they didn't have to worry about it
well,
because look where one is and look where the other is. But like, the initial reveal of the PSP, like, what is Nintendo's reaction to that?
well, the
And then the Vita.
that's why I'm bringing up the it being as powerful as a PS4 and an Xbox um is interesting in the sense that when Nintendo released when the PS Vita and the original PSP released, there was a power gap. They weren't making the same type of game.
Yeah.
So now when the Switch decides to come to this next level of gaming, they're gonna be kind of in an area where they're competing with people that are making the same caliber and quality of game. This is gonna be kind of interesting to see what they decide to do as a design choice and how that impacts price as well because um if you're talking about that type of power, you're also talking about a larger battery than the Switch currently provides. um and then if you want games that are on PS4 and Xbox quality, you're gonna need a larger hard drive as well for these type of games. So it's really there's a lot of questions, and there's always when the Switch is when there's always a Nintendo is always so different with their hardware that there's always a lot of questions whenever they're dropping a new console because it's always been different whether you went like
Yeah.
ever since you go from the Genesis to the 64, not Genesis, the Super Nintendo
Nintendo.
to Nintendo 64, and then you got you know GameCube, which the form factor is like totally different. You got this little cube, and then you got these little discs that's not even the size of like I can't even put DVDs in this thing. Um, then
Those
you
things.
then you go to the Wii, and that's a completely different form factor. Um, and then you go from the Wii to the Wii U, and then like it just keeps on
It's
changing.
like never the same.
Yeah,
Yeah,
never the
you can
same.
never track. Yeah.
So it's
And so part of that, like, so I asking and you're asking the right questions, like the real 100% question is what exactly is the new console?
like what are you guys
what
gonna do
is it?
different this time? Like what are you guys gonna
Yes.
do
Like,
different?
yeah, like because you're going to do something different because you always do something different.
Yeah.
Like, what is it? And for the life of me, this is why I don't work in that industry, and this is why I don't make Jim Ryan type money. But like, I had the same question for the Wii U. Like, so what are you gonna do next? And he was like, well, what about if we just powered up the DS and let you take it on the go, but also you can put it on your TV and stay there. And I was like, huh, didn't think about that at all. So now I'm just like, so what are y'all? What are you doing? What are you doing? Like I can't conceptualize it. I just can't think about like what they could do based on what they've done previously, which is for the most part exciting because it's always now it's just a big question mark.
Yeah. It's definitely interesting. Jube, what are your thoughts on this Switch 2 that we'll probably be seeing within the next 12 to 16 months?
Honestly, I think they're gonna do a discrete GPU in the dock.
You think that's
That,
that's gonna be the specific change?
I don't think that's gonna be specific. I don't think that's gonna be the specific thing because the thing is, you can have all this power in a handheld. The cost of that power is battery life.
Yeah, that's what I
You
was
know what I
that's
mean?
what I was just saying. Yeah,
They're gonna try to
it's
circumvent that. I think like with it docked, I think you're gonna get a PS4-ish experience, if not a little bit more, as far as maybe seeing the potential for 4K visuals. Everything being locked at 60 or what have you. I really think like you're obviously not gonna get 4K on a handheld. It's just not gonna happen. That battery's gonna die in like 15 minutes. This is just not gonna be a
well,
thing.
with the
Um,
screen being so small, you don't need 4K with the pixel density. It's not really.
like I said, like I'm pretty sure they still want you to have that experience in your living room. 'Cause we're at the point where if the fucking the iPhone 15 Pro, whatever the fuck, if that shit can run Resident Evil 4 looking like it does, like that's putting handhelds on notice. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
but
you do that with a phone, you can dock that shit to a TV.
but the
And
one
I
thing
think that
I was gonna say, the one thing with that iPhone though is that you can show it in a tech demo, but one, iPhones are notorious for bad battery life, and two, how much heat is that gonna create running that game? On top of all the other background processes that your phone is always doing.
say the same thing for the Switch. I mean, not as far as the background processes, but again, heat, battery, that's all shit they got to take into account. And I think their big thing is they know they can't really put all the bells and whistles in the handheld itself,
Yeah, but
but you'll get that experience if you
what I say it's different with a handheld that's designed purely for gaming versus a phone, whose primary design is to, take calls and, surf the internet and do a bunch of other things.
Right.
So
Take the Steam Deck for example. I'm running something fast on Steam Deck. It's going to die in 3 hours, 2 hours. It's just going to happen.
yeah, yeah.
And I think they want to get away from that 2 hour playtime because you're kind of tethered to a cord at that point. If you're tethered to a cord, you're not really mobile, and you're fucking with the Japanese market in that case because that's their thing.
Well, all right. So I don't think anything that Nintendo makes will be a drain on the battery life. I think the third party games will be the ones that really push the envelope and are a killer on battery life. I think
Have you played
I can't hear you.
Have you played Breath of the Wild on the Switch?
No, bro, I don't know where
Yeah.
I don't know where my Switch is. My kids run around with it. I bought it for me.
You'd be lucky to get 3.5 hours.
Yeah, Breath of the Wild pushes it, and so
Yes,
does Tears of the Kingdom.
but what I'm saying is
Yeah.
is that when they release a new set of hardware, at least for the first, couple years of it, the Nintendo games like the Marios and all that, I don't think they're gonna push the hardware hard to the point where it's killing your battery. They're gonna
Even
focus on the
Mario
game.
last
They're gonna focus on the gameplay and the experience so that instead of graphical output that's gonna really stress that battery out. They're gonna do everything they can to maximize the battery, even if they put this massive battery inside the handheld. Is kind of what I'm saying.
Maybe. Like I said, I know Mario killed the battery. Like pretty much all their first party titles outside of, like Mario Kart and fucking Kirby killed that fucking battery. Like,
Yeah.
Now, an interesting point to that, Jube, is though, like, I'm always curious about just how, like, I know people care about battery life, but just how much. And the reason why I ask that is because, like, I don't think you can walk down the street now a day and see somebody who doesn't have like a portable charger with them on their person. It has become like another accessory.
right.
And so when you then start, yeah, like when you start talking about folks like, oh, I've run out of battery life, like, when plug it into your portable charger. Now, of course, the Switch is going to drain that thing almost immediately, but like, to me, the idea still stands. Like, people talk a lot about battery life, but people have charging cases. They come, like, I have 3, and there's one on my person at all times. And I don't do anything on my phone other than like look up, YouTube and Twitter and stuff. Like, I don't do anything resource intensive for the most part. I'm not really playing that many games if I'm out and about. So it's like, I know it's a sticking point for people, but I'm always curious because, like, we just live in a world, you can't like you can't throw a stick without seeing an outlet and being able to charge into it. And I imagine for those Japanese folks, like, they've, the trains probably have outlets, the coffee shops have outlets, everywhere's got an outlet because it's a largely mobile place. So, like, people are already ready and prepared for that. I'd be really interested to see, particularly from a console perspective, like, how does that matter if the battery life isn't as crisp for as long as we need it to be?
I think the mobile thing and battery life. I mean, I think you have a legitimate point, but no, like, cause like the one thing I want to say is like, I mean, I know I travel a little bit. I haven't been to Japan, but I travel a little bit, and I can't really think of like being out in public and seeing people on their Switch too often. Like, I think most people, even though it is a mobile device, I think people play it within, the confines of places that they're comfortable, like their home. I don't think people are going to coffee shops and playing the Switch heavy. I mean, you got a percentage of people, but I don't think that is the majority. I think the majority of people, um, maybe if they're the passenger in a long car drive, um or they're at home and they're not on the TV, they're using their Switch, during those moments. I don't know how many people are realistically that are Switch owners are just out and about, just using their Switch.
And I actually agree with that. Like, my Switch goes a lot of places with me, but like, it is mostly in my bag. Like, I
Yeah.
have it on me. So usually I'm at work. So
Mhm.
it's with me when I'm at work, but also I can plug in real easily at work. You're right. I'm not on the street sitting down at a park playing my Switch.
Yeah,
It's
that's
not,
what I'm saying.
despite the early commercials about like, hey guys, you can do this here. Like, no, I'm usually somewhere where I can plug in pretty easily and be okay. Um, I agree with her. Like, that's, to me, that's the true portability of the Switch. It's the console that you can sort of take to work with you,
Yeah.
not the console that, like, how people treat books. Where like,
Yeah.
you go to the coffee shop, pop open your book, I can be here for like 2-3 hours. Like, no, I'm on a
And like
meeting that I don't want to be on. I'm turning my Switch on.
and like even like me, I have kids. I wouldn't dare let my kids take a Switch on a school bus. Like,
Oh yeah,
that's screen.
absolutely not. They'd lose it immediately.
Or even if you just drop it, like you're outside, you drop that thing, that screen is getting cracked.
Yeah, I mean, I bought my niece and nephew one. They lost it probably within about 7 months. They found it 3 months later, but it just flat out lost it.
Yeah, like
What?
I'd like the play on the go thing. I don't think is as realistic as people act like it is.
I think it's the definition of on the go.
Yeah,
It's
like
like,
you can play it
you are
wherever
technically on the go.
you can play it wherever you're at, but I don't think you're like out and about like just on your Switch,
Exactly.
basically.
Yeah. I just don't like. And you're right. I don't. The only time you'll see it, I think, most of the time, the easiest time you'll ever see it is if you're at some level of convention.
Yeah,
You go to any of the nerd conventions, you'll see them everywhere. But just a regular Tuesday, downtown Baltimore, just walk up and down the street, you're not going to see anybody sitting with Switches outside. It's
Yeah,
not going to happen. You'll see more people playing Pokemon Go on their phone than you will somebody whipping out a Switch and just sitting by the harbor and playing.
yeah. Or even like if you're at the mall, like you're not gonna see like a family at the food court and a kid on a Switch. You might see it
Exactly.
one day, but you're not gonna see it like every time you go to the mall.
Yeah.
So versus like when we grew up, that Game Boy was out. Like, you want to talk about mobile gaming? And that game,
Even Yeah, even the DS and the 3DS, them joints
This
were
is-
everywhere.
Yeah,
Like,
when we were kids, like it's a lot different. Like when we were kids, like those Game Boys and them, like they were out like everywhere. Like you would be at the mall and see someone, see a kid on a Game Boy or a Switch, or you see like a family out at dinner and the kid would be playing this little, because it literally fit in your pocket. Like versus
yeah,
like these new
it
devices,
was
it's
pocket
not as
size.
not necessarily as convenient to carry around. So the Game Boy back in the day was our smartphone, because it could fit in our pocket, just like the modern smartphones today can fit in our pocket.
My Advance went with I have my Game Boy Advance every place I could potentially take.
Yeah,
Then
because
the SP happened, and the micro happened. It's like y'all just keep finding more and more ways for me to be able to slip this in my pocket and leave the house with it. Like,
and one of the things that one of the things I think that actually killed the ability to play on the go is when you added joysticks. Because joysticks makes it impossible to like throw it in your pocket and stuff like that. So it's not something that you like innately really think about, but I think it does have an impact. Because like back in the day when you just had a
Not,
D-pad, it didn't you didn't have to worry about messing up your D-pad. You got to worry about stick drift and things like that nowadays.
and to your point, like it, the Game Boy was notoriously a brick. Like you drop that thing, batteries go everywhere, the screen's probably cracked, but it was also pretty solidly built, so like
Yeah.
it could probably came back together. Like the DS's, the whole line of DS were kind of perfect because it closed.
Yep.
So like you protected everything. Like you can drop it, but it was pretty much protected. The Switch is just one big screen.
Yep.
Like, I hold that thing like a baby just walking up and down the stairs in my own apartment just because and my floor is carpeted. I don't want to drop this thing. Let alone when I am out and about, like if I'm at work on just regular hard floors, I'm like, no, man, this needs to stay into the case at all times, which means you got to bring a case, which means no case is fitting in your back pocket.
My favorite was the Advance of all of them. I was an Advance guy. I had the DS.
GBA.
The Advance that had color.
Yeah. Okay.
So, 'cause I think there was a regular Advance that didn't really have like the full color spectrum, and then they came out with one with like the wider color spectrum. I gotta.
did you ever get a?
Ever get what?
A micro.
Now they got a micro.
No, I knew somebody who had one. I never had one though.
It was tight. Like it was really small, but it was backlit and everything.
Yeah.
It had like the same screen as the SP, but it just didn't fold.
Do you think there'll be a market for making one of those again? Like if Nintendo decided to do like a Switch and then like a true portable again?
I mean, quite frankly, we were just musing about maybe that's what the Switch 2 is. One big ass 3DS or DS.
Yeah, because I mean, because if you make a true portable again, like where you can really take it everywhere with you, you do have to take the joystick off. You gotta go D-pad.
Well, the DS had a joystick. It just wasn't. It was like really flattened in.
Yeah, it was flat.
It didn't protrude.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like you
it had
can't
to be
have
flat.
that. Like you can't have that like sticking out joystick that we're used to.
Yeah, it can't protrude in that way.
It got to be something
But
that can
like
really fit in your pocket.
That might be it, Pharaoh. Like because that's what to me that's what the Wii U was like supposed to be. It was a giant console version of a DS because you had the gamepad where you did everything on the pad and you look up and can watch it on the screen.
Yeah.
They inevitably were like, well, let's just get rid of the whole connected part of the pad and just take the whole device off wherever you want to go at any time, a la the Switch. But if they just come back and say, well, now let's perfect the entire thing and just make the gamepad itself a whole system that you can pop in and out wherever you want to, that might be it. It might be a giant DS.
Yeah, because I mean,
it's gonna look ugly as sin. I just know it, but
I mean, I'm willing to go back to like that era of gaming a little bit if it's like a true handheld that like I can really take with me and I don't got to worry about like messing up the sticks or anything like that. Like I think there's a place for it. You know, because at the end of the day, like even like with mobile gaming on your phone and stuff like that, they are battery killers. So having like a little device that you can kind of have on, like in your other pocket, you can just kind of pull out and play. I think that would be kind of cool if they decided to kind of go retro just a little bit. Like it doesn't have to be like 100% retro. You can still throw some graphics to it, but I wouldn't mind going back a little retro. Not saying with the Switch 2. I'm saying something in addition to the Switch 2. I think would be like kind of neat.
Like you got me thinking. That's my personal dream. Like whatever the new system is, just needs to be a giant 3DS or Switch size 3 or DS. And just I would love the ability to close it, and then if it opens up, you can play. You can pop like the Surface.
Yeah,
So if you get the Microsoft Surface with the keyboard, you can pop the keyboard thing off, and it's just screen. So I imagine if you can pop the top part off, put it into the stand to put on your TV, and then when you're ready to go, you take it off, you pop it back on, close it up, and be on your way.
Yeah,
I think I'm on to something.
I would argue devices like the devices that they make now, they are mobile, but they're not really portable. Like the devices that we had growing up were more like portable. Like you could kind of just take it and use it anywhere and everywhere you wanted to. Yeah. Do we have any other thoughts on the Switch 2 and
That's actually really interesting. You're talking like almost like a portable. That could also be a portable, discrete, external GPU also. Bob, take with you, and then that also powers your dock.
That's what I want, man. Now I think that's what I want. That's what I want.
I'm thinking about it like, okay, you have like the main portion of the Switch, just like that, like performance-wise, graphics-wise, probably not the best, but it'll probably give you the longest battery life. You add that attachment, you get the extra horsepower to get better visuals, better performance, or whatever, at the cost of power your TV. And you might be on something like.
I like that one. I can't let that one go now. Like I gotta keep that one. I gotta keep that one going.
Hey, we can all dream. We can all dream. Oh, we're losing you again, Jubei.
I said it might be like a DS style joint, like for real. Dope.
I would like it.
Sign
I would like it. I like I said, if you really brought back portable gaming, because I think that's the main reason I don't play the Switch, because I work from home. I'm home a lot, and I have access to all these high powered devices, and to go down to this use a Switch when I have access to like a PS5 and an Xbox and a gaming PC. It's like I really just don't have the incentive for it. So I don't know. I guess I'm becoming a graphics snob. I don't know.
I mean, you deserve visual candy. Y'all do.
Well, the Switch, I've never played the Switch docked on my TV, and I think if I did, I would, and I got used to that experience, I would play it more.
I think that's a better experience for me personally. I like playing.
Yeah.
I'm not.
I'd have to play it on my TV, but I've never done that. Like, I've had my Switch. I had my Switch in my gaming area for like a couple weeks, and the next thing you know, like the dock is in my kids' room, and I don't even think they play it dock. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think at that point it becomes a bit of a software thing. Because like I play my Switch mobile a lot, but I'm also playing a lot of Ace Attorney recently. I do not need a full screen for Ace Attorney. I just don't. You know what I mean? It's like I think but I'm almost exclusively full screen when I play Smash.
Yeah.
I just can't do it on that small screen.
Yeah. That being said, I think that kind of concludes our Switch topic of the day. We are going to roll into outros. They're going to be pretty short, being that like half our panel is out. But yeah, Jubei, where can people find you and your lake and gaming and everything else you got going on?
You can find me at Jubei X Sensei on gaming platforms. Jubei Sensei everywhere else. I can't it's so hard. Like I'm in the middle of moving. I move in 18 days. Moving across town. It sucks. I'm not leaving state or anything across town, but it's still a bitch.
Moving always sucks. You can be moving next door. It sucks.
Yeah. Like that's taking up most of my time outside of like family stuff. And once I get moved, I'll have more time to do stuff. But it's like I'm working 3 jobs so I can afford to move. I'm gonna wind that down after I move. So it'll work out in the end. But don't expect me to be like talking about like Spider-Man and shit when it comes out to like it comes out the day I move. I can't play it. Like I'm looking 2 weeks after that to maybe even think about it. So yeah. After this month, everything should be cool. I can get my streams back going. Like yeah, it's gonna be nice.
All right. Cool. And Zero. Well, I'll tell people where they can find me because you do all the. I don't even know. Are we still doing the Podbean thing, Jubei? President of Podbean operation.
Yeah, I'm still paying for it.
Are you doing the uploads though? That's what I'm asking. That's what I'm asking. I know. I know you got a lot going on, so I'm asking. Yeah, but yeah, Zero. Tell people where they can find you and where they can find us. If they want to listen to us outside of YouTube.
Well, guys, of course, it's always been a pleasure having the conversations. Always great to be here. You can, of course, find me 0x386 pretty much anywhere. Just hanging out, man. Waiting for that Spider-Man. Waiting for that Super Mario Wonder. October's a pretty stacked time for games, so like really the end of this year is pretty stacked for games. So
yeah,
we're eating good. We eating good out here. Yeah, we eating good out here. For the next couple of months, everybody, if there's something for everybody. So, get out there and play some games. And while you're playing games, listen to us, Vitamin G Podcast. You can pretty much find us anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast. Podbean, inevitably, we'll get the newer ones up there, but I know we're already there anyway. Google, YouTube, Spotify, all of one. Just give us a like, give us a comment, give us a listen. We appreciate it, as I always say, because you could be doing anything else, but you decided to listen to us. So thank you, and we appreciate it for you. See you next time.
All right. And lastly, it's your boy Pharaoh. You can find me on Twitter at Pharaoh Bizarre, and anywhere you want to watch me do a stream at the Land of Pharaoh. Usually I just do Madden streams, but I do want to get into doing some other streaming content. It's just difficult because I only really find one day to stream. Commit a lot of times to the family and all that, but hopefully I'll find time to get into something else and stream something outside of just like Madden on a Sunday morning. But yeah, we do appreciate you guys coming out. Please take a moment to hit that like button and share us out to anybody you think would enjoy this. With that being said, thanks for getting your weekly dose of vitamin G. We are out.